Hi, this is ASDP ufologist Jody Brown from Arizona, and you are watching Alien Strand podcast with host Ledesma.
AlienStrand.com, the official website.
Holy crap.
I believe it was 5 separate craft. That's some straight UFO shit right there.
That's when I started seeing all of the lights and the contact that I've been witnessing. I just kept filming and looking up at the sky, and it just started happening more frequently.
Look, what is that? What is that? What was that?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Man, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a good one today, man. You know why? Because we're going to step on some toes today, man. We're going to step on some toes. So, hey, it's okay because that's what we're about. We're about ufology. Thank you guys for watching tonight. We had a little mess up there. It happens every once in a while here on the podcast, but it's okay. You guys are there to watch. We got Facebook users out there already watching to see what the heck we're going to talk about, Terry and I. So today, Terry's going to be on the show, and, he'll be coming up here in just a second. People saying, glad to be here, guys. Hey, today, what's going on? We are all out there, man, ready to give you some really, really deep information, right? And that's what we're about here. We're gonna step into it. You know what I mean? We're gonna step into all that goodness, that we always talk about. But you know what? Don't forget to catch us on Patreon. Hey, it's growing a little bit here and there. There's a couple of people that jump on board on Patreon. Thank you, guys. Even the free ones, man. Come on board. Just come check us out on Patreon. I really appreciate that. There's some stuff that comes out. It'll come out for members for about a week, and then you guys get to see it as well afterwards. So, a lot of times, there's other stuff that you guys don't get to see on Patreon, but it's okay. It's a give and take. That's what it is. Join us there on Patreon if you can. Download the app. It's awesome, man. And you know what? Somebody just put it out there. Are you naked? No, don't get naked. I don't want to see nobody naked tonight. Catch our podcast, our past podcast, A War Underground. And then the last one we did with Mr. Mike Figurito. Man, he an amazing guest on our show. I just love him to death. He got deep, man. I mean, deep into our conversation about consciousness, man, and contact. And just because he wrote a book, that's fiction, or it still, it had a lot to do with a lot of his personal encounters. So please go check out those two that are out there right now on Alien Strand Podcast. If you can't, just go look for it, Alien Strand Podcast. Google it, Alien Strand Podcast. You'll find us everywhere. It'll show you all the latest updates that we have. Of course, tonight with Mr. Terry Lynch and ourselves, it's called the Deep VEIL Coverup, right? And we're gonna talk about people that are just kind of covering it all, man. And you know what? No, man, no, that's not gonna happen. That is not going to happen. We're gonna let this out to so that way you guys can know. Even out there in audio land, we are live right now, actually on speaker. So if you guys are driving your vehicles, please be careful on the road. Thank you for listening tonight. Truck drivers, bus drivers, anybody out there that is listening, thank you for listening to the show as we're talking live. Keep your eyes on the sky. If you got to take a picture, throw it up, go off to the side of the road. Don't do it while you're in the vehicle. If it's safe to do so, take your pictures, videos, all that good stuff. All right. Remember DOT rules, man. You have to, man. I used to be a CDL driver myself. I recently lost it. I'll get it back. I promise you, I'm gonna get it back. Now, watch the middle tetralogy. We have part 1 out there right now. We have part 2 that is out on a few platforms. It's on Skylight Channel 1 or Skylight 1 channel, actually. Go check it out there. You'll see it on Facebook. We have the middle 3 that's almost done on editing and everything. That one's going to be coming out next. All right. So if you guys want to, go to Skylight 1, go look for it on Facebook. It's a freebie too, man. Just join in if you want to, and you can watch all our movies there as they come out. They're going to be, all these films are going to be coming out. They're going to be a lot of great information. All right. Of course, we're waiting for this is the channel, Skylight 1 channel. It's on Vimeo. If you want to look for it there, you can find it there as well. But there's links to it on our Facebook page. So go to our Facebook. It's the easiest thing, and you'll be able to find it, all right? So, of course, the middle part 1 still kicking butt out there on Tubi TV, Amazon Rewarded, Hoopla, all these great channels. Thank you guys for watching the film and getting a lot out of it. We're waiting for it on Amazon Prime. It's going to be coming out here soon. Now, the most important part of this whole thing of Alien Strand is Alien Strand Disclosure Project, right? Because there's no I in team. We all work together as one to get out all the information as possible, on ufology, disclosure, Bigfoot, paranormal. We haven't really dove into the paranormal yet as much. I really want to get into that too, man. So if you guys are into the paranormal, you guys have a lot of good footage, videos. Hey, man, come join me over here. Give me a holler. We'll put you on the show too, so we can get you on there. We do study paranormal as well. I like to throw some of that out there too for the folks that are really digging that kind of stuff as well. Tonight, of course, we're going to bring in Mr. Terry Lynch because he hasn't been on the show for a while. He's been busy, man. He's been busy. He's going to tell you about it. So here we go. Come on, Mr. Terry Lynch. Let's go ahead and have some pretty good, deep conversations. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? This is Terry Lynch, ASDP ufologist Terry Lynch from Oregon Ufology and Research. I'm really happy to be here tonight. We get to talk about some things that we're going to talk about the people that block the way for disclosure. There's a lot of people that we like to call gatekeepers and disclosure, and we're going to expose some of those folks tonight.
Yeah.
As Donald was saying, we're going to step on some toes. That's for sure. And Donald talking about CDLs and things like that. Nobody's seen me around for a little while because I've been studying to trying to get my CDL. I'm
right on
for becoming a bus driver, for the school district.
Right on.
So let's see what happens next.
Good for
Concrete bags have become too heavy for me.
Yeah. I get it. So today, we brought you on board, and congratulations on getting going on your CDL. I'm glad. I'm happy for you, brother. And we're all pushing that are out there. And we know, of course, you are a master expert as well on ufology, and we haven't had to do UAP weekly as much because we've just been busy doing all different kinds of things, right? But
That's right.
today I'm going to give out a little bit of a surprise before we dive into that deeper part of governments and all that good stuff. So we do have a couple of videos. All right. I'm going to throw out 3 videos tonight, and we're just going to talk about them real quick. And I want you guys to see these videos. And, it's this first one was just recently posted, and I saw it and it kind of blew me away because the way this UFO looked, it flew by very slowly. But you know what intrigued me about this UFO is that on the very bottom of this, as it's flying by, it almost looks like an upside down boat, right?
Wow.
And this is what you've always talked about, how they have these flux tubes and things that kind of move underneath these crafts. Now, this video is actually going to show it. So tonight in Audio Land, it's going to just be a video. This actually happened at night. Somebody changed the analysis on it to make it kind of look like a daytime shot. So it's going to look like almost daytime. It's in a gray form. But here we go. We'll be able to talk about it as it's playing. So here we go, Terry. So this one was shot actually in Sweden on February 6, 2024. Look at it. Here it goes. Is that a cool shot or what, Terry?
That was a really good shot.
It almost looks like an airplane flipped upside down or a boat, and the direction that it's going. This was, like I said, it was in Sweden. I mean, it's just inverted. It's a UFO if you really look at it without the bottom piece, kind of going across the sky, but at just a straight trajectory. No high speeds, anything like that. What are your thoughts about that video there, real quick?
Well, again, most of these craft, if you think about how many different types of cars and motorcycles and airplanes, and how every year we got the newer, better model, this is a good example of this is something that whoever they are, of course, have produced. And this is the new model, or maybe it's an old model we've never seen before.
Right.
But it's definitely something that's unique in comparison to the other things that we see in the sky. And a lot of people, there's more than just me that sees these things on a regular basis. I'm assuming that right there, once I put it under my filtration systems and start looking, I'm going to see exactly what I'm expecting to see, because you could kind of actually see it with your eyes.
Well,
You could see kind of a aura or a magnetic
EMF on it.
basket. Yeah, it's kind of an EMF basket that's around it. Let's see, they call it a magnetic flux tube basket, is the actual scientific term for anything that they use to do quantum levitation.
Right.
So it would be putting a magnetic flux tube basket around the craft, and that's that little distortion, which is again why you don't see things perfectly every time.
Right. Well, I did your job for you, as you talked about right now. I decided to go ahead and do that, a little bit of it, not much, just a little bit. So here's what I broke down, and I put it.
Good job.
And I put it in filters for you guys out there. So in audio land, we just threw it in a yellow spectrum, like what is it called? Electromagnet or something like that.
Electromagnetic. You have atomic, and you have what looks like. I think you got one there in the negative.
Yeah, that was the original one, the one on the left, and then each one is the original, which is the ones on the grayish kind of black and white. What I did was I brought the color out a little bit, not the color, the lightness, and then I added a little bit more sharpness to it and definition. That's why you see a little bit more of the line on it, as it's just flying by. And I kind of thought about, is this CGI or anything like that? But then I started seeing the electronic magnetic field around this thing. I zoomed in just a little bit more here so you guys can see it out there in video world. You can see the outline of this thing, that there's something there.
Yeah, you see the thing on the bottom sticking down. This right here is what the United States Navy would call the gimbal.
Right.
That's exactly what this would be, is what the Navy would call the gimbal craft. When I see something like that, I say that's a counterweight.
Right.
Okay. The craft itself, they turn using counter steering, and they grab onto like the ley lines that are in the earth. They grab onto those ley lines like an anchor, and they turn. And basically, when they turn, they're using geometry. So what that is that reaches out and it grabs down to the planet, and it's throwing a magnetic flux tube down to the planet, and then it's using that as the way to turn the craft itself. So if you notice in a lot of things, a lot of the videos, you'll see the craft do this and it turns immediately.
Right.
And like our jets, they take a long sweep out. These things, what they do is they spit something like that out, which is a counterweight, which also helps with this turn. And it's shooting down magnetic flux tube down to the earth, and it's grabbing on it, and it's turning like on a dime. Okay.
Yeah.
And because it's using that, and it's using the bottom of that craft with that beautiful flux basket that you're showing around this craft.
Right.
The green and the red one really show it well.
And this was in Sweden. Sweden.
That's in Sweden.
Yes. So we have another video real quick. I hate to jump forward, but let's go ahead and jump forward.
Just great.
We have another one here. So I'm going to throw out this video real quick. It's kind of short. So on this one, the story is it says on October 21st, 2022, in the morning at 52, I guess it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning, in the area of Wales, right? It was a black pyramid, and this object was in an upside down position, was highly visible with clearly activity within. Later in the observation became clear as it was being operated by one controller, right? So here we go. This is where we come in deeper, right? It says, despite the science, this is not possible, right? It says, I'm confident that to accept the realism that what we observed and was being filmed occurred was a UFO depart, right? It's like it was demonstrating some kind of acceleration, and then it stopped in front of them. So what you're going to see here is going to be, it's kind of dark. I lightened it up as much as I could so you can kind of see. So you're going to see the you know how most pyramid or maybe TR3Bs, they have this bubble of light or something under it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On this one, it came down so low that they got a really good shot. You can see the pilot inside of this thing moving. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and show that now so we can check this out. All right, here we go. So there's the bubble. You can see it at the very top. And you start, it goes in slow motion.
Oh, yeah, you can see him moving.
Yeah, he's moving inside of there. You see? Clearly, you see him moving in there. Moving around. And this is inside that bubble of this craft. It's like he's looking through the window or the glass or what the bubble.
When I first started out in all this, I had joined Strange Happenings group, and Jody called these a one-seat bubble.
Yeah.
And you could clearly see it. Okay, so Jody's a ufologist out of Arizona, and then there's a ufologist out of Australia. His name is Carlos, and he brings these things up. He does all kinds of different. By the way, he's a trucker.
Nice.
Anyway, he's really good at bringing craft in, and you can see these different things that are inside the craft once he starts doing his filtration process. And he really shows a good, kind of a vivid explanation of what's going on inside of that craft. And usually you can see one person sitting at what looks like a computer type system.
Right.
or a control panel with like a computer coming up, and you can see them actually sitting there like we do in a car. And on many occasions, when it's a much larger craft, you can see several different beings inside that craft as well through his filtration process. So, Carlos, I appreciate what you've done and shown me and taught me. And Jody Gordon, thank you for the things that you've shown, because this is what we normally would call a one-seat bubble. And this right here, it looks like it might be a little bit bigger than a one-seat bubble. I mean, that looks like a pretty large craft with something in front, with someone or something running the craft on the inside.
Now, I lightened it up as much as I could before it just starts distorting real bad, but it almost looked like inside that bubble where he's at, I guess it's a pyramid sort of shape. There's lights all the way around this bubble, like almost lights around it, around that area where he's at. So you can almost see little luminous lights on the left side and the bottom of this bubble. And then only when I brought this the brightness out of it, and then the more detailed, you can actually see what's going on inside of that thing. But you definitely can see something moving around in there.
They're definitely moving inside of it. And
So
I could kind of see the pyramid shape to it as well, with the different lights that were lit up and at the far corners in the dark. You can actually see a pyramid shape.
So we have Erica Garcia says, hello, excellent group. And especially you guys have the guts to speak of what's going on. It says, first time seeing UFO, I was 8 years old. We have Billy Barnett out there. Burnett, I'm sorry. He says, hello. Shannon is out there as well. Andrea Davina Ortiz is out there. Everybody's watching tonight. I'm sure Marisol's watching out there too. And speaking of Marisol, I'll tell you what, we got a video that.
All right.
She put out there. Okay. So
she gets good stuff. She gets really good stuff.
She does
and she's an ASDP ufologist.
Right. And she threw this out there the other day because something that she shared. And and this is almost gonna look like the Jonathan Reed UFO that was on the ground that he saw, that kind of triangular looking thing that was floating on the grass. So let's go ahead and watch this. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
See that?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring this up.
And watch what it does at the end, though. See how they're kind of walking around it, looking at it, and then the darn thing shoots off like in an instant.
And it's like, bam.
Right there.
There it goes.
Yep. Right there. It was gone.
It looked like it raised up instantly, and yeah, this is actually something I was going to bring up. I had seen ASDP ufologist Paul Wilbur. He had shared this also within our group, and this is something that is really intriguing. This looks like something that's pretty much talked about in Egyptian. With their glyphs on their pyramids,
right? And this is a black. It almost looks like an arrowhead, sort of, but floating there. It doesn't look very big. It looks like
I was going to say it looks like it's obsidian or at least basalt,
like 2 feet, maybe as big as it probably is, about 2 feet big.
Yeah.
It doesn't look very big at all. So
no, it doesn't.
You know how we hear about these extraterrestrials that are small, little beings, or small little guys. It's a possibility that maybe, something is, coming. Maybe it's one of those little guys that are inside of one of these crafts. Something's driving this thing, or is it a drone of some sort? Right.
Right.
It got spotted at that split second while somebody was close enough to film it, right? It's just I don't know. It does look just like the one from Jonathan Reed. Have you ever seen that 1990? I think it's 1994, 96. I mean, when he beat the hell out of this alien because it killed his dog. it ripped the dog's head open, right open in front of him. And he freaked out so bad that he picked up a branch. It was an alien, and he beat the heck out of it, knocked it out unconscious until he brought it home. And he's like, he's breathing so hard in that video that, I mean, every time I watch it, it's like I get anxiety just by listening to just like listening to him breathe. I don't get anxiety, man. It just kind of freaks me out by the way he's breathing. So it's like, and a lot of people try to discredit him and said all different kinds of bad things about that. He made it up, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I still don't know the full story. I asked him to be on our show one time, so we're still kind of waiting on that. Maybe, hopefully he jumps on our show one of these days, and I really would love to interview him, and just kind of, get his insights in a little bit more depth. I like to ask different kind of questions than everybody else. So, hopefully to get somebody. What are your thoughts about that thing?
Well, I see something like that right there, and I'm pretty sure at some point here with the type of exploring that Oregon Ufology and I do together, we're going to run across this. We're going to run across that. We're going to run across something that's very similar. Right. I've seen so many things up in the skyline around here that fit so many different descriptions. One night we saw it was 4 craft that were in the exact same line frame. I was getting pizza at the local pizza place, and I stopped in the parking lot and looked up, and I started seeing what I saw. And this, I didn't have my phone, or I didn't have anything with me. I didn't have anything, but there was a guy that was standing over beside me. He saw me staring up at the sky, and he's like, "What are you looking at?" And he looked up there, and he could see between clouds. This is directly over Paulina Peak, and there were clouds. There was a break in the clouds, and you could see these beautiful fireball lights going between the clouds. Wow. And it was one right after the other. And it was a total of 4 of them that went by. Now, this type of thing, again, I see stuff like that, and I think to myself, is this what the Native Americans were seeing when they came up with like the Clovis arrowhead or spearheads and things like that, because it looked like something that could do something because the speed that they move. Right. The fact of the matter is I'm one of those people that believe that most of these spears that you see and most of the pointy kind of craft, I believe that they're all mostly made out of like obsidian and basalt, not a metal, not anything like that, but I think that's exactly what they're made of. A lot of the stuff coming from inner Earth, from within the Earth. We have a mini documentary that we call The Hive. Well, a lot of these craft are coming from right out of these volcanoes. We have Tiberino Sanchez down in Mexico.
I love him.
All these, yeah. I mean, he doesn't speak a word of frickin' English, but boy, do we talk.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we have translation capabilities on our phones, so we actually have long, good conversations. He actually sits down. He does. He goes and he's like the main speaker at some of these big UFO conventions down in Mexico. Yes. And he knows everybody down there that's involved with this, and he's one of our guys. He's ASDP.
Yes, he is.
This guy is somebody who he knows his business. At some point, you and I hopefully will have a nice little tour with him down there, and we'll go get to see this volcano that keeps popping up and showing us all the different wonderful things.
That's where I want to meet him in Popocatépetl. I want to meet him on that volcano.
That's exactly right.
If me and you can go over there and meet him and, man, just shoot with our video cameras, I swear to God, we're going to get something. Let's go ahead and move forward, and let's go ahead and dive into this thing.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, anybody say anything about more cowbell around here?
I'm ready, brother. I'm ready. Yeah. Okay. So, as everybody knows and everybody watches our podcast, we are strictly rated G for everyone, right? And we don't cuss on here. We don't do any of that stuff. Every once in a while, one might slip out or darn or crap or whatever. But we keep
I've
it
taken
family
my hat
friendly.
off.
Yeah, taking his hat off. We do not take our clothes off, and we do not show nudity. Okay, okay.
No
That is
nudity.
that is not happening. If you guys know me and Terry, that is not happening. All right. So we've been flagged down so many times for nudity. I don't know how that happens. How did that happen? Okay. So now that we're I'm gonna get away from that.
I stopped shaving.
Yeah, that's pretty naked.
I stopped shaving.
So let's talk about the beginning, right? How this all started, the government involvement, right? And how, this is a little bit deeper than it should be, right? Because when we talk about the capabilities of covering up a lot of UFO disclosure and things that recently come up, we always get people that get sidetracked, right? And so I wanted to just talk about this a little bit. How this all started from the very beginning. How we always talked about Eisenhower and how he had this meeting and something. So let me just read this to you real quick. It says, so on February 20, 1954, Eisenhower interrupted his vacation in Palm Springs, California, to make a trip, right, to Air Force Base to meet two extraterrestrial aliens, right? And we all started talking about how he disappeared for a couple of days. He came back, and then and after that, they start wondering, okay, what did he do? Where did he go? And then there was a lot of sightings and things that were happening during that time. And they kind of put a lot of things together that, what he went to go meet these people, as far as Nordics. And this is what I get the story of, right? That, and he just, he tried to, I'm just put it this way. He kind of made a deal with the devil. Let's just put it that way, right? In a sense, to where they were gonna, kind of give us technology in return, trade off for human beings, right? And that was the whole trade off of the thing that happened, because there was a large quantity, there was a large, just a lot of sightings during that time, right? During the 1940s all the way to the 1960s, while he was president. He just happened to be there at the right time when this meeting occurred, right? And so, and it says that he met with these aliens that were Nordics, right? And it says in the UFO circles, they resemble Scandinavian humans. It says they traveled to Edwards Air Force Base with a solar system with a flying saucer. At Sala, this was this person says they spoke to Eisenhower. There was telepathic communication. He says as he sits in his suburban and Falls Church living room, this is guy that's explaining everything. He says, I guess he was there, right? And he says, even though it's like you're hearing them in person, but they're not speaking. This is what this guy said, right? That was there in this whole conversation. And then he says they were afraid we might blow ourselves up with nuclear technology, right? And that's why they did this trade off in a way, because they didn't want us to get too far deep into human existence, taking us out of the whole picture, right? But so they did this trade off with humans, and they said, okay, you could take a few million of us, and that's exactly what was happening. Take a few million of us and, give us some technology. But at the same time, they said that Eisenhower was not going to give up the nukes. He did not want to give up the nukes at all. So, and that was the whole deal behind that, how all this started, right? Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Terry? I mean, just that whole story alone, how it breaks itself down.
Well, it sounds an awful lot like the General Byrd, Admiral Byrd.
Yeah, right.
It sounds a lot like his story. The description of the people that you're talking about would be Palladians,
right?
They're kind of a Nordic looking, tall, blonde race of blonde hair, blue eyes. That's what it sounds like to me. I'm also willing to bet that old Adolf Hitler there, I'm sure he's run across them too with the technology that was coming out of his country.
Right.
at that same time frame. So you've got here is they were reaching out to us. We weren't willing to give up these very destructive weapons. I'm assuming that the reason, one of the main reasons, more than humanity itself, but one of the main reasons they wanted us to get rid of these atomic bombs, atom bombs, hydrogen bombs, was because they would create a magnetic pulse wave, or you know, when we shut everything off,
Right.
all of a sudden we don't have any more power to anything. It melts everything. When we have these type of weapons, it creates this thing that kills not only people but electronic things, which their crafts would be made of. Their crafts operate on. So it would drop if we start setting these things off. It would drop their crafts right to the ground. You know.
Right.
Same thing with a Tesla car or a Harley Davidson, for that matter. If it has any kind of electricity, it's going to stop the vehicle. It's going to turn off your power in your home. It's going to render anything that has anything to do with electricity or electronics.
And you can kind of think about his thinking or his thought process if this really happened or it occurred, right? His thought process. Mm-hmm. I'm the commander in chief, right? Now this podcast is not political. We're not getting into politics, but you know, I'm the commander in chief, you know, and I have to do what's right to protect the country. Now, if that's our biggest weapon that we have to protect ourselves from anything out there, of course he's not going to give up the nukes, right? He's not going to, because that is the most powerful weapon that we have really in existence today, you know? So, you know, it's like somebody can be telling you, yeah, give it up. And then they come back and they attack you. Right.
Right.
So you have to be alert at all times. So I get that part, you know, why he probably did that and didn't give it up if this meeting happened. Right. And it just gets deeper and darker as you keep going into the rabbit hole, right? In a sense, to where there was a lot of sightings back in the day.
If you step backwards in time and you look at back to the writings on the wall again, you'll see things where Gilgamesh, everybody remembers Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh. They show different types of weapons that show arrows going in every direction with a big mushroom type cloud, and there's places all the way down in India that you can see where a nuclear attack had taken place. The same thing in South Africa. There's a place that used to be what they called a Anunnaki slave location where they were going after gold. You can see all these things where the Anunnaki were the ones that were running this place. I think about the giant doorways and all the giant things that used to actually walk around this planet that were like, you know, we're little people to these, and we're slave race to these things. According to everything that's ever been written about it, we were a slave race. I mean, if you think about this guy, if you look at the pictures of him, he's holding a full blown lion under his arm like a cat, like it's a kitten. And then you see all these other, what we would almost call fictional beings, like a giant human with either a hawk's head, like a hawk's head, and you see this all over the Middle East, and then you go down to all the way down into Peru, and you see the same things on Incan things, and you see the same thing on Mayan things up in Mexico, and all of these different cultures. You have basically it's the exact same thing. So what I'm thinking here is we had all of this stuff tied together at one point. We call it Pangea, when it was one giant continent, the whole thing. And then we had this thing come down and really screw us up. And it was like a big meteor that came in, and bam, it took out the dinosaurs, which were also moving around, and it broke up all these things into different plates, and
Well,
we all started drifting apart, continental drift.
let's talk about the sheet here. So this is a UFO fact sheet, right? That was out there from 1947 to 1969. So during the time of Eisenhower, or before him as well, even after, there was a total of 12,618 sightings, right? That were total of sightings. And then the ones that were unidentified were 701, right? Which means
Right.
they couldn't identify these craft at all, right? Of course, using the Project Blue Book, and with Heineck, and just trying to figure out all these that were happening, right? These total sightings, and which kind of brings you to, hey, man, these things were happening back then, right? And why not have the meetings with these extraterrestrials, or Nordics, or Norwegian looking, or whatever it was, and just kind of make a deal, right? How do we figure
Right.
that didn't happen? So I mean, let's move over. Let's move over a little forward into the future. Let's go a little bit forward. So
Right.
then they, when Project Blue Book starts coming out, then we start coming out with things behind the veil, which is the cover-ups that happen after all these things, all these government programs, the black money that starts generating. It's probably been around for a freaking a long time. We just didn't recognize it until now, right? And
Right.
I mean, and then they use a lot of people sort of behind the veil, right? To cover up a lot of the real things that are happening. Now, if you notice, there was 12,000 sightings, brother, and then only
Mhm.
700 came out in their report that were unidentified out of
Well,
12,000. So it doesn't make sense. There was probably a lot of hush hush back then and covering up as
Mhm.
well. So how do we know even if that number is accurate as it is? You know what I mean?
Well, that's to protect religion and government. Um, once you introduce this third party, you have to start putting government and religion into question. And that's what his main goal was to try and cover up. This is where the cover up started, really, probably at its peak. They start giving a not only is it cover up, but anybody who mentions it, well, it's little green men, and you're crazy.
Right.
Let's label you with a tinfoil hat, and let's say that you're crazy. You don't have the capability of talking to a large group of people and telling them that this is something that you've seen, and this is what everybody else should be looking for. And that's pretty much how it happens. You end up with this stigma of the crazy guy who saw the UFO. And did you ever see um, what is that, ID4, the movie?
Yeah.
Where the guy's sitting in there trying to tell everybody about the UFO,
Yeah.
and immediately there's two ass clowns sitting at the bar,
Right.
and they're talking about, did you get probed, and did you this, did you
Right.
well, no, that's not what happens every time. um, it's only on the X-rated version of our show would we talk about that anyway.
Right.
Anyway,
That was Randy Quaid. Now,
that's right.
I'm going to show a video here. This is going to tie into what we're talking about, and this is going to get deep right here. Okay, so if you guys are watching and listening tonight, this came off of a different podcast. I tried to share it on my Facebook or wherever, and it kind of tells you the story of what's happening now today, of how they're using larger. They're using people that are more popular. I'm going to put it to you that way. They use people that are more popular in this industry, or I'm not going to say business, because to me it's not a business. We're scientists in a way. We're trying to find disclosure at the same time, right? So we're almost like news, and
We're
we
more like media, yeah.
yeah, we're more like media. So and these people that they make sure that they have a large fan base, and they start reaching out to them under, behind the veil, right? And that's why I call this podcast Behind the Veil, because I want you guys to listen to this and watch this. If you guys are in audio land driving, listen up to this podcast, this video that I'm going to show you real quick. It's about 2 minutes and 23 seconds, not very long. Just listen up. Check this out. Here we go.
Either there is sufficient energy within Congress and within the Senate in relation to this subject, or is it still kind of trying to kindle a fire that isn't quite burning yet?
I think we need to kindle the fire a little more. I think we need to put pressure on our leaders. And I think we need a leader in the White House who eventually will say, enough is enough. I'm going to come aboard with this stuff. Get out of my way. I want to get the information now, and let's get it. Because I really don't think we're going to get to where we need to be, because they're going to move the target. They're going to lie to us. They'll move the locations. And, I don't get too hung up on locations and stuff, because by the time we get there, it's like somebody that's wanting to take a Odell, which is a congressional delegation, I think, to Area 51. And, we can all get our picture made in front of the signs that say, deadly force can be used, or we'll go to the little alien, the bar, and that kind of stuff. And I just don't think we'll get to see too much.
Well, it's like you said, recently I saw you were on Tucker Carlson. He's very interested in this subject and in a real approach. And I think obviously big audience, caught your short kind of segment with him. You're right about one of your concerns that you highlighted, which is that you don't feel comfortable quickly sharing photographs or any kind of evidence that might be given to you, because disinformation, I think, is one of the real problems with this particular subject. I mean, it's been rife within this particular subject for decades anyway. People polluting the waters, going to these UFO conferences, shady spooks who give you a little whisper in the ear and send you going down a narrative that doesn't quite make sense. And I think right now, for people like yourself who are pushing at the front, that's a genuine risk. Do you feel like there may have already been attempts to get you to traffic in disinformation?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And the trick is there's some of them that are doing it that are, in my opinion, don't know they're doing it. They're the most effective ones. They've been given false information, and they've got a huge following, and they're a fraud.
They're a fraud. That was the key thing that he says at the very end of that. They're a fraud because they're spreading disinformation, right? And we've recently had the Las Vegas alien, right? That was the most powerful one that we got when it first came out last year. What was it, in July? And when it came out, everybody was on top of this angel guy, right? And they wanted to find out the truth, and then all of a sudden it starts getting polluted with all different kinds of different narratives. No, it wasn't
right. They went different directions with it,
right? And then we had the mall, the recent Florida mall one, right, with the extraterrestrial there, right? And it showed itself on the street. It showed itself. I showed the videos and everything on that podcast.
We started getting a lot of resistance as soon as you put that up too.
We did
a lot of resistance on Facebook. They started saying that we were naked.
Yeah. And I don't get that. I really don't. But it's just, this is what he was talking about, is that when something comes out and it's real, there's going to be people out there that are going to discredit whatever this is happening in real life, right? Facebook user says, you guys are right on spot on for all the information I've gotten over the 50 years from personal experience. it's all on point. Thank you. You know, we are trying to push this to where you guys know exactly what's happening out there. Now, as we were talking about the mall, you know, the police department came out laughing about it. We threw a little alien on there. They're like, no, this didn't happen, you know, but then we have all the video proof that we threw out there as well, right? So,
Mhm.
and then we had, remember the Chinese balloon that they shot down,
Mhm.
right? And then at the same time, there was like 3 UFOs that they shot down over Alaska. There was supposedly
Right.
a tic tac,
Over the Yukon area. They did over the Yukon area.
and they crashed and they couldn't find it. You know,
Right.
they couldn't find it.
Interesting.
Right. So, and then we didn't hear anything else about it. It was just like a lot of political nonsense was happening in the background to throw you off of the actual stories, right? Because there was a lot of stuff about the president, the son, yada yada, all that crap was happening at the same time. Why this happened as well. So there was a lot of, you know, different things that were happening at the same time, right? And this is what this guy was just talking and mentioning about, that this is what they do. You know, they infiltrate ufologists out there that say they're ufologists, right? But then, you know, are they being a part of it, or like he said, sometimes they don't know they're doing it, right?
Well, they're given access. Some of these people are given some access to what would be considered classified information.
Right.
And then what they do is they take that and they run with it. And then as they slowly move along, they start changing their story.
Right.
And if they don't change their story, they become what we like to call a gatekeeper in ufology. And that's a person that will, when you start getting closer to literally what they were trying to show, then they start sending lawyers and they send all kinds of fun stuff towards you to say, hey, you're not allowed to talk about that. This information belongs to that person.
Right.
The hell, I say. Okay.
Right.
This is my answer to every one of those people. I bet you know where I'm getting ready to go.
Yep.
Everybody already knows. I'm Nikon. Okay. I got a P500 in my hand here. I got a P1000 right here. I've got this is a D3200. I got 1,000mm lenses for this thing. My statement about these in particular Nikon cameras, and I'm Nikon, you might be Canon, you might be Sony. I don't care what your camera is, but when you have your camera, if you turn your shutter speeds up, okay, you can create what's a slow motion effect. All right. And once you start making that slow motion effect take place, you slow these craft down that I've told everybody. They move at their top speed. They're moving at about 22 miles per second. Okay. Right. When you speed that thing up, everything starts going into a slow motion. It's still going to move past that really fast. Okay. Anna Quiones and Jody Gordon were the ones that showed me that this is how you do it. So you can find your location. You aim over. My suggestion is over a mountaintop. Okay. Right. Mountains are where these things like to hide, and you're going to see this stuff for yourself. You don't have to worry about a government for disclosure anymore, as long as you own your own camera. If you own your own camera, you're going to find these things yourself, and They can't tell you anymore what you are seeing on the news, because you're starting to film it now for yourself.
Exactly.
All right.
So, and let's talk about that too. Let's talk about that too. Ufologist or ufrologist, huh?
We've got those. Lots of ufologists.
Ufrologists. That's what we call them here at Alien Strand Disclosure Project. You know, are they in it for the black money, or are they in it not knowingly, or are they knowingly doing it? Right. And then that's the prop. That's the part of it that we're trying to break down here. And you know, how do we know that they're doing it or they're not doing it? Now, me, I mean, I used to be a police officer back in the day, and we talked about it a couple of times. I know I know how to read body language, right? I know how to read, people's eyes, their movements, things like that when they're hiding something, right? Now, when I watch a lot of these podcasters, or not podcasters, but just people that in general that are in this non-business thing, that ufology, that when they're telling their stories, their eyes just kind of give it away to, like, there's something back there that they're not saying,
Right.
and it's the bad part about that is that you don't know if it's they got a gun to their head. You don't know that. We don't know that, or we don't know if they're doing it on purpose to throw us off of the narrative of what it is exactly, right? And and that's the crappy part about it. It's like you don't know, and what gives it away is the eyes. Me, it's like the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? And you can pretty
They
much see,
certainly are.
you can see what's going on, sometimes, and the eyes always give it away. I'm a firm believer of that. But and these people that call themselves ufologists out there, that that are getting out disclosure and things like that, some of it's a little bit too good to be true. You know what I mean? And their stories. I'm not putting anybody down on their disclosure, nothing like that. It's just that some of it's a little bit, it's like, hey, how did you get this information? How? Oh, I can't tell you. Well, how did you do? I can't tell you. Well, how did you do? I can't tell you. Oh, well, it's just, where did you find this, or where is this located? I can't tell you. Come on, man. Come on, man. Let's get on with the program here. If anytime me and Terry talk about this, or we talk about ufology, anything like that, you'll never hear us say that ever.
Not a
We
chance.
we can't tell you. We're gonna tell you. We're gonna tell you exactly where it came from. We're gonna tell you, even if we caught it ourselves on our cameras, we're gonna tell you what time, what place it was, where we were at, if there's any military bases in the area, if any helicopters flew over afterwards, anything like. We're gonna tell you everything. Even our ufologists out there in ASDP, they're gonna do the same thing out there. So, what I'm trying to tell you guys out there is no freaking veil here with ASDP. None of that crap is happening here. We are true. Why? What Terry always says, we're citizen ufologists, man. That's why we work as citizens. We are citizens first, and
as well as disclosure starts with your story and respect.
right.
If you're gonna take the time to tell us what you have seen, and you're going to take the time to maybe even show us what you filmed. Not every time are you going to get a film of it. I mean, 9 out of 10 times when you're looking up and you see this thing, the last thing you're thinking about is bringing your cell phone out.
Exactly.
Or any kind of camera. You're so surprised with what you're seeing because it might be the first time you've seen it. It could be the 10th time you've seen it. I'm just as amazed every single time. Okay.
Exactly.
When I find myself out in the middle of the wilderness and I've got my team, Oregon Ufology, with me, you wouldn't believe how many times we just walk out there and we're just sitting there tapping on our pistols.
Yep.
And we're thinking about, well, somebody should film this. We're looking around going, hey, none of us are filming this. So we're all sitting there just dumbfounded watching this thing travel 60 miles across the skyline. Right. And then stop above us and then move around us. Well, we managed to finally get the camera going, but it was one of those situations, or it is one of those situations, to where you're still beside yourself, because no matter how many times you see it, it's almost like the first time every single time.
Exactly.
So you just try and be ready. It's something simple. This right here is, to get a camera like this, you can go to a pawn shop for $65 is what I paid for this one. Okay, this is a Nikon P500. It's a 822.5 by 810 millimeter camera, super zoom. Okay, you can pick these things up super cheap. You can get them at secondhand stores. You can get them at pawn shops. Nikon makes really good cameras. You can get Sony's. Oh my gosh, the Sony's even got a better processor than what I've got. But I'm Nikon. But you get yourself a camera that you can sit and film these things with, And when you see it, if you can remember, film it.
Exactly. And I brought up a picture of the secrets kept underground, like the secret pyramid in Alaska. We've, if you saw my War Underground on Patreon, I highly recommend it. Go check it out. I give you a lot of insight on things that were happening underground behind the veil as well, right? This is what this podcast is about, right? Now, I put this video out on that podcast, but I'm gonna show it right now before we close out, so that way you guys get a little bit of a logistics of if you guys have never seen it or Phil Schneider before. I am going to put his video out there. It's a very short one. It's about maybe three and a half minutes. All right, so because I want whatever he says is super important. All right, and I want you guys to listen to what he has to say. It's an older video, but of course he was murdered later after that and during that time, but I want you guys to see it and listen to what he has to say. Here we go. Let's watch it.
Casually mention to you something that's very scary indeed, and tell you what the alien agenda is, and it's going to sound very familiar. The alien agenda is the complete takeover of this planet, the killing off of 5/6 to 7/8 of the world's population by the year 2029. U.S. military has known about this for 45 years. They've told no one. As far as I know, I'm the only person standing before a crowd talking about the alien agenda, secretively. Okay. Back in 1954, I'll give you a quick overview. There was the created 1954 treaty where Eisenhower signed a pact with the known alien species of the time. There were 3 at the time, and said that we're going to deal in high technology, but you can take a few head of cattle and a few human beings and you can experiment on them. It's unthinkable. It's stuff straight out of the Nazi death camps, and I'm kidding you not, it's plain BS, and it's got to stop. Now, the created 1954 treaty had been violated. After the great firefight, the alien-human war, I am the only living survivor talking about it worldwide at all. Only one. The other 2 are in nursing homes in Canada, and the Canadian government refuses to allow any U.S. people, including myself, to talk to them because they are afraid of kidnapping. Probably the reason I got shot to pieces and 11 attempts on my life is I am a direct threat to the entire system. The New World Order, the alien agenda is one and the same. It's world takeover and the decimation of the population of this planet. Now, I'm going to tell you something a little bit different about the alien species. The bad news ones, there are 9 races of alien populations. To look at a human being as a bag of food. They're not cannibals. They don't eat the flesh and the bones and all that kind of stuff. They use the glandular secretions of animals and human beings as a mixture of the vitamins for their food. They get high off of our adrenal gland substances called adrenochrome. It's something like cocaine to them. Now, what can we do about it? Right now, if we do nothing, we can do nothing about it, and it will continue to go on. Basically, we'll be led in the dark, and you'll keep seeing more and more people disappear. Right now, there's 100,000 children totally unaccountable through FBI archives, cannot be traced anywhere. They haven't been murdered. Nobody's ever seen them. I think they're hauled underneath in some of these bases, and they are summarily done away with, and they are literally eaten. Now, that is a scary thing indeed. And I'm not asking you to believe me in toto. I am asking you to seriously do enough homework that you can go out through the public record, through the congressional records, find out who's voting for what, and go from there. Do your own program. Do your own agenda, and do your own speaking out. And if enough of us do this, there is some saving grace.
Exactly. Do your own research. Do everything like that. So there's enough saving grace. And that was a beautiful end that he said on his speech. So, like
Be
I said,
prepared.
yeah, always be prepared. But the reason I threw that out today is because I want you guys to understand that people were going through this back then, and a lot of things were happening. And of course, he fought back. He fought back, right? And unfortunately, for at that time when he fought back, it came back and it nipped him in the butt, and he ended up getting murdered for it. But eh, and he was giving out the information of what was happening behind the veil, right? That's exactly what was happening behind the veil. And he says, I don't need you to believe me or not. You don't have to believe me, but I'm just telling you exactly what's happening, and either go with it or you don't. So, and then the other video of that, I believe he's a congressman, trying to get disclosure, trying to get, new people in there to give out the information because he knows it's there. The guy knows it's there. So, and then they use a lot of these people that are in these higher YouTube watch lists and things like that. They target them right away because they say, "Hey, we can use that guy to cover that story, and we'll just change it up a bit to where it doesn't look so much, and we'll throw them in a different direction." Right? And that's what this podcast is about. This is what me and Terry were trying to explain to you guys tonight about what behind the veil really is. And I hope you guys paid attention tonight. This was a great podcast. And Terry, you got anything to end it with here tonight?
More cowbell.
More.
Anyway,
Yeah.
disclosure starts with your story of respect. ASDP stands for Alien Strand Disclosure Project, which is part of Alien Strand Podcast. I want to make sure everybody knows that the 2 and 2 are together, and that I am your research director of ASDP. Donald Ledesma is the director of ASDP, and that we have several members throughout the entire world. And again, one more time, disclosure starts with your story and respect.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you, brother, for being on the show today. I really appreciate you and all your insights. We missed you. We hadn't seen you in a while, but keep on doing what you're doing, and we're gonna cross our fingers, man, for you, brother. So you pass your tests and get out there and enjoy driving, because I did that for 16, 17 years. I loved it. I still enjoy doing it, but we're gonna be right there with you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right, thank you. I'm grateful that I passed all my tests up to this point.
Right. All right. We'll talk to you here in a bit. Just hang on in the background.
Okay.
All right, brother. All right. Out there, they're saying, thank you. No more cowbell. Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows what we're talking about. Thank you, gentlemen, for your efforts. You're always appreciated. Everybody's out there just chiming in on everything. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm just reading all the comments that everybody's throwing out there. Good night. Yeah, it's coming, brother. I already know that is. Thank you, guys. Everybody's just saying thank you. I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast tonight. I hope you got some information on the dark parts of ufology as well, and what happens during a lot of these cover-ups and things like that, because unfortunately it works against us, man. It works all against us, and we just have to stick together. I keep saying it over and over. Let's just all stick together as one. And I mean, are we going to get all the answers? I don't know. Maybe not, but at least we can get close enough to it to where at least one day, like I said, if these things come and they land on the ground, we're good with it, man. I mean, we already know what's up. We already know what their background is. We already know the agenda. We got a lot of the information while we were digging right in the background. But one day it's going to happen. One day, Sue Harrison, thank you. Says you guys do a great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Like I said, I appreciate you guys watching tonight, listening on Spreaker tonight, live. We are live on that platform, Spreaker. We're going to be on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those other ones as well. You know, if you like this podcast, please give us a thumbs up. Share it if you want to. Share it to as many people as you can. If you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. Give us a like, subscribe. If you're on X, you know, you could have chimed in. You could have chimed in. You would have came out. Your comments would come out on X as well. So you can always watch us on X on there too. You know, so we're on all different kinds of platforms. I really appreciate you guys. You guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night. Watch The Middle Part 2. Go watch it. Go watch it right now. After this, go watch it. Bye.
This is ASDP ufologist Terry Lynch from Oregon. You're watching the Mothership Alien Strand podcast with your host, Donald Ledesma.